Beyond the Gates spoilers tease that tensions erupt in ways no one expects when Dani's simmering frustration finally breaks through the calm exterior she's known for. Morning light floods through the glass panels of the Dupree Estate's breakfast conservatory, casting fractured reflections across the marble floor. The air smells faintly of coffee, scrambled eggs, and the sharp citrus of freshly sliced grapefruit. Dani sits opposite Andre, her expression taut not from exhaustion alone, but from a quiet, pulsating irritation that has been building for weeks. They had spent the entire previous night in heated conversation about how to handle the media attention surrounding their whirlwind marriage, trying to decide whether to face the press together or keep silent until the dust settled. By dawn, neither had slept, and both looked drained. But as much as the sleeplessness pressed against their nerves, it wasn't fatigue that made Dani's jaw tighten. It was Leslie. Across the room, Leslie sits perched on a stool, elbows wide, face glowing with misplaced confidence as she belts out Tina Turner's "What's Love Got to Do With It" with the volume and commitment of a full concert. The problem isn't her voice though, it's painfully off-key, it's the obliviousness. Leslie doesn't see the daggered glances or the stiffened postures around her. She's lost in the song, swaying, spinning a fork like a microphone, sending shards of noise bouncing through the quiet room. The servants freeze mid-step. Guests exchange weary looks. Someone mutters under their breath, but no one confronts her. No one ever does. Andre lifts his cup, sighs, and mutters softly, "She's at it again." Dani's nails scrape against the porcelain plate. She's been at it since 6. He tries to lighten it. Maybe she thinks she's auditioning for something. "She's auditioning for my patience," Dani snaps, pushing her untouched breakfast aside. Her appetite disappears the moment Leslie hits another ear-splitting note. "I can't do this. I can't eat with that woman pretending this is a karaoke bar." Andre gives her the look, the one that says let it go, but Dani's gaze stays locked on Leslie like a lion measuring the distance to its prey. The rhythm of Leslie's humming becomes a challenge, a provocation. Dani's knuckles whiten around the napkin. "Don't," Andre warns quietly, sensing the storm. But it's already too late. The song crescendos, and Leslie tosses her hair, laughing to herself as if she's on stage, as if the world exists solely to witness her moment. Dani rises, slowly, deliberately. Chairs scrape. The tension becomes physical. Every eye in the room follows her movement as she crosses the space. "Dani," Andre says, standing halfway. But she's already moving faster than his caution. Her steps echo. Leslie turns just in time to see Dani's reflection in the mirror behind her. The last note catches in her throat. "Oh," she says, almost amused. "You like Tina Turner too?" Dani doesn't answer. The next seconds blur a flash of movement, a sharp intake of breath, a clatter as Leslie's chair skids across the floor. Dani's hand tangles in Leslie's hair, pulling hard enough to make the woman yelp. The stunned silence collapses into chaos. Someone screams. Coffee splashes. Silverware clatters. Leslie swings back in shock, knocking a glass to the floor, shattering it into glittering shards. Andre reaches them in 2 long strides, wrapping his arms around Dani's waist and lifting her away before the scene grows bloodier. "Enough," he shouts, the authority in his voice cutting through the hysteria. He sets Dani down several feet away, gripping her shoulders firmly. Dani's chest heaves, her face flushed, eyes blazing. "She's disrespectful. She ruins everything." Leslie, clutching the back of her head, spits out between gasps, "You're insane. You psycho." The staff hurries to clean the mess, murmuring apologies no one listens to. Dani's reputation once her armor now hangs in the air like smoke. Phones have already been lifted discreetly. A few guests caught snippets of the scene. The story will spread before lunch. But Dani doesn't care. She's never been one to calculate the cost of honesty. She's the kind of woman who burns bridges rather than walks them if they insult her dignity. And in that moment, with Andre's arms still holding her back, she feels more alive than she has in months. Andre sighs, guiding her toward the door. "We're leaving," he says to the room, the final word brooking no reply. Outside, the cool air hits her face. The silence feels merciful. Dani exhales, hands trembling slightly now that the adrenaline fades. "I'm sorry," she says, though her tone is more exhaustion than regret. Andre runs a hand through his hair. You can't keep doing that. You're not just Dani anymore. You're Dani Dupree now. Every outburst becomes headline material. She stares at the ground. I know. But I'm not going to sit there while she mocks everything. He looks at her, really looks, and sees not the glamorous model the tabloids worship but the woman beneath it. The one who's always had to fight to be heard in rooms full of noise. Next time, he says quietly, let me handle it first. The phone buzzes. It's Anita, Dani's mother. The screen lights up with that familiar name, the one that always signals a new kind of trouble. Dani hesitates before answering. Dani, Anita's voice comes through, calm but commanding. I need you and Andre to come to the estate. Vernon wants to speak with you both. It's important. Now? Dani asks. Yes. Breakfast meeting. Don't be late. The line goes dead before she can protest. Andre watches her expression tighten again. Your mother? She nods. She says it's important. He glances at the mansion behind them, then back to her. After what just happened, I doubt it's good news. The drive to the Dupree estate feels longer than usual. The world outside blurs into streaks of morning gold and shadow. Dani stares out the window, arms folded, rehearsing every possible conversation they might have with her parents. Vernon Dupree is a man who measures people like investments, assessing value, risk, and return. Anita, on the other hand, believes image is everything. The sudden marriage between Dani and Andre had not fit into either of their plans. When the car finally pulls up the winding drive, the mansion looms ahead, stately, cold, immaculate. The gates open soundlessly. Inside, everything gleams, marble, glass, and silence thick with judgment. Anita greets them at the door, her posture perfect, smile tight. You look tired, she tells Dani, as if tiredness is a crime. Come in. Your father's waiting. Vernon sits in his study, surrounded by dark oak and the faint scent of aged whiskey. He doesn't stand when they enter. His eyes flick briefly to Andre, then to Dani, then to their intertwined hands. The silence stretches just long enough to make it clear this isn't a friendly visit. Sit, Vernon says finally. They do. I'll be direct, he begins, fingers steepled. Your marriage, sudden, impulsive, and conducted without consultation, has caused considerable conversation. The press is circling. Investors are asking questions about our family's stability. We need to discuss damage control. Andre keeps his voice calm. With respect, sir, this isn't about business. It's about family. Vernon raises an eyebrow. In this family, business is family. Anita chimes in smoothly, pouring herself tea. We're not questioning your feelings, Dani. We're questioning your judgment. A marriage like this after only a few weeks sends the wrong message, especially when one of you is still under contract with a major brand that values public composure. Dani's jaw tightens again. So you want us to pretend it didn't happen? Vernon leans back. We want you to consider whether this was wise. Annulments exist for a reason. Andre's hand finds hers under the table. It's a small gesture, but it steadies her. No, Dani says firmly. We're not undoing this. Anita's tone softens, but her words cut sharper. You've always been stubborn, Dani. But marriage isn't a stage for defiance. It's a lifetime of consequence. You think love will carry you through, but love fades when life gets complicated. Then it's good I don't fade easily, Dani answers. Andre smiles faintly, the corner of his mouth twitching. We know what we're doing. We're not perfect, but we're real. Vernon studies him. Real doesn't last. Discipline does. That sets something off in Andre, quiet but strong. Discipline is exactly why I'm here, sir. I take responsibility for every choice I make. And marrying your daughter was a choice I made because I believe in her. Not her image, not her name, her. If that costs me approval, I'll live with it. The room stills. For a brief second, Vernon looks almost impressed, though his expression stays guarded. Anita clears her throat. Perhaps we should take a moment. Dani, come with me. Vernon, speak to Andre privately. The separation feels strategic, a test. Dani follows her mother down the hall into the sunroom, where the light turns everything a soft gold. Anita sits gracefully, crossing her legs. You know your father. He needs time to process things. But I need you to be honest with me. Are you sure about this man? Dani meets her gaze. More sure than I've been about anything. Anita's eyes soften. Just slightly. He's not from our world. That's why I trust him. People change when they get what they want, Dani. Fame, comfort, power, they all turn love into strategy. Dani shakes her head. Andre doesn't want any of that. He wants a life with me. Simple, maybe even messy, but real. That's something I've never had before. Anita looks away. Her expression unreadable. You sound like I did when I met your father. Then you understand. Anita lets out a long breath. I understand how quickly passion can turn to politics. But maybe you're right. Maybe I've been in this world too long to remember what it feels like to believe in something uncalculated. Meanwhile, in the study, Andre sits across from Vernon, the air between them thick with unspoken challenge. Vernon pours 2 glasses of whiskey and slides one across the desk. You're a musician, aren't you? Andre nods. Producer. Mostly. Unstable field. Creative types often are. Andre's smile doesn't waver. It's not unstable if you build it right. Vernon studies him. You're confident. That's good. Confidence can buy time before reality sets in. What happens when the spotlight moves to someone younger? Louder, cheaper? I'll still have her, Andre says. And if she decides she doesn't want this life, then I'll still have me. Vernon raises his glass slightly. You speak like a man who's already lost before. I can respect that. I have, Andre says. But not this time. Something in Vernon's gaze shifts. For years, he's measured people by profit margins, by the steadiness of their handshake, by how easily they flinch when confronted. Andre doesn't flinch. When Dani and Anita return, the atmosphere has changed. It's less charged, more grounded. Anita sits beside Vernon, placing a hand on his arm. They've made their choice, she says quietly. Vernon nods once, slow and deliberate. Then we respect it. But understand, both of you, this family doesn't survive on sentiment. If you're in, you're in. That means loyalty, discretion, and unity. You'll need to stand together, especially now that the press has footage of your breakfast incident. Dani winces slightly. Already? Anita slides a tablet across the table. On the screen, headlines, blurry photos, and a short clip of Dani lunging at Leslie, her face half hidden but unmistakable. The comments flood the bottom of the feed, some mocking, some defensive, all viral. Andre looks at her, silent but supportive. Dani scrolls, reading each word like a blow. They're calling me unstable, she whispers. Anita's voice is softer now. You can't fight the story. You have to replace it. Use this to your advantage. How? By showing the world that what they see as chaos is passion. That what they call a scandal is actually proof of loyalty. You defending your integrity. Vernon adds, control the narrative before it controls you. If you and Andre stand united, the story changes. Make a public appearance. Laugh about it. Own it. Andre nods slowly. We can do that. Dani glances at him, her partner in defiance and now in strategy. We'll handle it, she says. Together. Anita smiles faintly for the first time that day. Then let's drink to that. Vernon pours fresh glasses for all 4. The clink of crystal cuts through the tension. To family, Vernon says. To resilience, Anita adds. To us, Dani murmurs, her eyes on Andre. Andre raises his glass, meeting her gaze. To the beginning. For a brief, golden moment, peace settles over the Dupree estate. The light softens, laughter returns in hesitant waves, and the weight of expectation seems to ease. But beneath the surface, beneath the polished smiles and careful words, something darker stirs. The morning's chaos was not an isolated outburst. It was a symptom of something deeper. Something neither Dani nor Andre yet understands. Outside, as the sun dips lower, a figure stands at the edge of the drive watching the house, hidden behind tinted glasses. Leslie, her hair still disheveled from the morning's altercation, her pride more bruised than her scalp. In her hand, a phone. On the screen, the paused video of Dani grabbing her, mid-motion, eyes full of fury. A slow smile spreads across her face. Let's see how far you'll fall, Dupree, she whispers. The gates behind her creak closed, sealing in a fragile peace that's already beginning to crack. In the days that followed, The Dupree estate became the epicenter of a storm that refused to die down. The breakfast brawl had found its way into every gossip feed, every entertainment headline, every whispered conversation among society's elite. Dani's face frozen mid-motion, fury blazing in her eyes had been replayed so many times that even she started to forget what had triggered her in the first place. Yet, deep down, she knew it wasn't just Leslie's singing. It was everything that Leslie represented: intrusion, disrespect, a kind of casual chaos that Dani could no longer tolerate in her world. Andre tried to keep her grounded. He spent hours managing calls from publicists, smoothing statements, trying to turn the incident into a narrative of passionate misunderstanding. But Leslie had already begun her counterattack. She posted a video from her own account, a slower, crueler edit of the same fight, complete with captions that painted Dani as an entitled diva who had assaulted a friend for singing too loudly. The clip went viral within hours. Comments flooded in, dividing the public into two sides. Some defended Dani, calling Leslie a provocateur, an attention seeker. Others condemned Dani, accusing her of violence and arrogance. The internet, as always, had chosen chaos. Andre found her sitting by the window that evening, watching the city lights flicker like distant stars. She hadn't spoken in hours. "Let them talk," he said gently, placing a cup of tea beside her. "They'll find someone else to hate by next week." She didn't look away from the window. "It's not the hate that bothers me. It's the way they believe her. They look at that video and think that's all I am, a tantrum in heels." "You don't owe them your peace," Andre replied. "You owe it to yourself." But Dani couldn't shake the feeling that something larger was in motion. Leslie's smug grin in that video wasn't the look of someone seeking justice. It was the look of someone who had a plan. And Dani was right. Leslie had always been clever beneath her recklessness. She had connections: minor producers, gossip columnists, people hungry for scandal. When she realized how much attention the video was getting, she started feeding them stories, little lies, easily believed, that Dani had thrown her weight around, that Andre was struggling to control her, that their marriage was already on the rocks. Within a week, tabloids printed rumors of a Dupree divorce. Dani's modeling agency began receiving concerned calls. Sponsors paused campaigns. Anita called twice a day, her tone shifting between maternal worry and public relations panic. "You need to fix this," Anita urged during one call. "Appear together, smile, remind the world you're happy." Dani rubbed her temples. "We already did that last month. It didn't work." "Then do it again. Do it bigger. Invite the press. Host a charity dinner, whatever it takes." Optics matter. Andre listened quietly, his patience thinning. When the call ended, he exhaled. "Your family treats love like it's a product launch." "It's the only language they know," Dani said softly. "But maybe we can turn it to our advantage." So they planned a small event at the Dupree mansion, intimate, elegant, designed to radiate community. Anita oversaw every detail. Vernon approved the guest list. The night arrived bathed in golden light and expensive perfume. Cameras flashed outside the gates as the couple emerged hand in hand, poised, beautiful, and unshaken. For a few hours, it worked. Guests laughed. The press took flattering photos. Dani smiled until her cheeks ached. But then Leslie appeared. No one had invited her, yet there she was, wearing a sequined gown that caught every glimmer of light, her lips curled in a practiced smirk. She walked straight toward Dani, champagne flute in hand, pretending nothing had happened between them. The air shifted instantly. Conversations faltered. "Well, look who's thriving," Leslie said with mock sweetness. "I thought you'd be hiding in some PR bunker." Dani's fingers tightened around her glass. Andre stepped closer, ready to intervene, but Leslie's next word sliced through the fragile calm. "You know, it's funny," Leslie said, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "The tabloids keep calling me the victim, but I was just singing. You attacked me for enjoying life." "What kind of person does that?" Laughter rippled faintly among the guests, nervous, uncertain. Dani's eyes darkened. "The kind of person who's had enough of your games," she said quietly. Leslie tilted her head. "Oh, so you admit it was personal?" Before Dani could respond, Anita appeared like a shadow behind her daughter, whispering under her breath, not here. Don't give her the satisfaction. But Leslie wasn't finished. You think the world loves you because you smile for cameras? They love you because you fall apart in public. You're entertainment, Dani. Nothing more. Andre's patience snapped. That's enough. He stepped forward, his tone calm but commanding. You weren't invited, Leslie. Leave now. Leslie turned her attention to him, her smile fading. Careful, Andre. People are starting to wonder what you see in her. Maybe they're right, maybe you just like the spotlight she gives you. The silence that followed was electric. Cameras turned, sensing the tension. Dani's hand brushed Andre's arm, a silent plea not to let it escalate. But then Vernon appeared, his presence imposing enough to shift the balance instantly. Miss Leslie, he said in a tone colder than marble, you've overstayed your welcome. My staff will escort you out. Leslie's smirk wavered, but she recovered quickly. Of course, Mr. Dupree. I wouldn't want to embarrass your family. She set her glass down and left slowly, every movement calculated for maximum attention. The event continued, but the mood never recovered. Dani smiled for the remaining cameras, but inside, she felt something unraveling. That confrontation wasn't the end of Leslie's meddling, it was only the beginning. Later that night, after the last guest had gone and the house had fallen quiet, Dani and Andre sat together on the terrace. The city stretched out below, beautiful and indifferent. She won't stop, Dani said finally. No, Andre agreed. But neither will we. He turned toward her, the determination in his eyes grounding her. We handle this the way we handle everything else together. We tell the truth before she twists it again. How? An interview. One outlet. Our version. No handlers. No spin. Anita hated the idea when they told her the next morning. Uncontrolled media is dangerous, she said sharply. They'll twist your words. Then we'll speak in a way they can't twist, Dani replied. Honesty doesn't need editing. The interview aired 3 days later. Dani sat beside Andre, no makeup beyond the bare minimum, no glamour lighting, just truth. She admitted her mistake in losing her temper but refused to apologize for standing up for herself. She spoke about her marriage, about learning to trust someone outside her family's world. And when Andre looked at her on camera, the sincerity in his eyes made even the harshest critics hesitate. The reaction was mixed but powerful. Some still mocked, others applauded, but the tone shifted. For the first time, people saw Dani not as a scandal but as a person. The headlines began to soften. Brands quietly resumed contact. But Leslie wasn't finished. She went underground for a while, biding her time. Then, just as things began to stabilize, a new leak appeared online. Photos of Dani and Andre's private life, intimate and invasive, taken without consent. The captions were cruel, the commentary worse. Dani recognized the background in one of the shots. It was the Dupree estate, her own home, which meant someone inside had betrayed them. She confronted her parents immediately. Vernon denied any knowledge, but his tone suggested otherwise. Security will investigate, he said simply. Anita looked shaken. Who would do this? Who could get inside the estate without permission? Dani already knew the answer. Leslie had once worked briefly as an event coordinator for one of Anita's charity galas. She knew the staff, the routines, the layout. She had connections inside. It all made sense now. The perfectly timed leaks, the uncanny knowledge of private details. Leslie hadn't been acting alone. Someone in the Dupree circle had been feeding her information. Andre began to trace digital footprints, calling in favors from friends who owed him. Within a week, they uncovered a string of encrypted messages between a former house assistant and a private gossip columnist linked to Leslie. The evidence was enough to expose everything. When Dani confronted Leslie for the final time, it wasn't in public. It was in a quiet cafe downtown, away from cameras and luxury. Leslie looked smaller there, not defeated, but stripped of the armor that fame had briefly given her. You could have just moved on, Dani said. But you kept pushing. Leslie laughed softly. You took everything from me the minute you put your hands on me. I was a nobody until that fight. Now everyone knows my name. You wanted fame that badly? Leslie leaned forward. Fame's the only currency that matters. You were born with it. I had to steal it. Dani studied her for a long moment. Then you'll never keep it. She slid a folder across the table. Copies of the messages, bank transfers, contracts, evidence that Leslie had orchestrated the leaks. "I'm not pressing charges," Dani said. "Not yet. But if another rumor surfaces, this goes public." Leslie's expression hardened. "You think that scares me?" "No," Dani said. "But it'll end you." She stood, calm and collected, leaving Leslie alone with the folder. That night, Dani returned to the estate feeling lighter than she had in months. Andre was waiting on the balcony, music drifting softly from his phone. "It's done?" he asked. "It's done," she said. "For now." He smiled, pulling her close. "Then let's start over." She nodded. "No more hiding. No more letting other people write our story." As they stood there, the city lights shimmering beyond the gates, the chaos that had once defined them finally began to fade. The Dupree world would always be complicated, full of scrutiny, ego, and silent wars, but for the first time, Dani felt like she had chosen her own direction within it. Inside, Vernon poured himself a quiet drink, watching the two figures through the glass doors. Anita joined him, her expression softer than it had been in years. "She's different now," Anita said. "She's stronger," Vernon replied. "Do you think they'll last?" Vernon watched Dani laugh at something Andre whispered to her. "They've already survived more than most." That counts for something. For once, the Dupree estate felt peaceful. The headlines gradually shifted to new scandals, new faces. Leslie vanished from the spotlight. Her 15 minutes burned out faster than she'd imagined. And though the echoes of that morning's chaos would never fully disappear, Dani no longer feared them. She had faced the worst the world could throw at her and found her footing again. Andre's hand slipped into hers, grounding her in the present. The future, uncertain, messy, and gloriously unpredictable, waited just beyond the gates.